Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for our annual webinar dedicated to the results of the previous year and our thoughts and ideas of what it is the next year is bringing us. I really like this webinar. It always takes time to analyze what was happening, but because I love numbers, I love figures, and for me, behind every number, there is a trend or there is something. So thank you for joining. As always, before we ask, I always ask the same question. Can you please write, where are you listening from? Are you in Cyprus? Are you abroad? So if you can write where you are, it makes our webinar very lively, and I promise you that there will be lots of interesting things, lots of interesting facts, and I encourage you to ask questions. I love when our webinars are very interactive. This way I feel that I am talking to you. So be active, and let's hope that you will enjoy it. And it's amazing to see. So we can see UK, Poland, UK, London, Cyprus, London, Paya, Lebanon, Texas, USA, Latvia, London. So, even Tel Aviv. Even these webinars always show for me that Cyprus is attracting people and attention from so many countries. And being passionate about Cyprus, I love it. So I can see that we have lots of listeners from the UK as well, and I will talk about your country as well. So let's start. So today we will be talking and discussing Year in Review 2024 and what are our expectations for 2025. I personally believe that it's very important to understand what was happening, to look deeper into every number. And when you look at my education and who am I think you will understand why. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Anastasia Yianni, and I am CEO and partner of Cyprus International Realty. I've been working in real estate in Cyprus for over 23 years. I love it. I love Cyprus. I moved here actually 24 years ago. So my job actually gives me opportunity to meet people, to learn, to study, to make life of other people better through my experience. And I also have a degree in real estate. So during these particular webinars, when I analyze year in review, I use lots of my academic knowledge as well to share with you, because I believe that all these numbers, all these figures, they will make your investment decision or your decision to purchase property, either for yourself or for rentals, more educated. You will know much better what is happening in Cyprus, and this will make your purchase happier and your life happier, and in general it will be much more conscientious decision. And as a company, we are always about bringing value to our clients. Cyprus International Realty is part of the larger network. We're very proud to say that we are part of big family of Sotheby's International Realty, which is present in 83 countries. I always mention it, and I do believe that it is important because it gives us additional knowledge about what is happening in other countries as well. So even though we are local with the knowledge of Cyprus, we understand the big picture, and we understand that when you are in the, let's say, in the UK, in Israel, in Latvia, in Poland, you have other options as well. So when we discuss needs with our clients, we always cover other markets as well. As Cyprus Sotheby's Realty, we work all over Cyprus in all the areas with all developers and private sellers. We are fully licensed, and it's very important for you to know that if you engage with any professionals in real estate in Cyprus, it is a licensed profession, and only licensed real estate agents are allowed by law to provide these services. We're very multilingual, and our network is very, very wide. But enough about ourselves. Let's talk about what we discussed today. So I will cover real estate market performance of 2024, connected with Cyprus performance in very wide description in general. We will discuss with you what was behind these figures, and we'll see what could be the points that will drive demand in 2025. And let's start with the market performance. In this webinar, there are lots of numbers. I'm not going to go through every number, but I will be very happy to share with you this presentation so you can study in your own time and discuss with us if there are any questions. In Cyprus, we're very lucky. Every contract of sale, whether it's a new build or resale, is always registered in the land registry. And these records are public. What does it mean? Of course, you cannot go and see who bought this property and at what price. As a general public, you cannot see that. But at the end of every month, you can see at the site of the land registry how many transactions have been done. And it is a very important indication to show you where the market is going. Is it going up? Is it going down? And why it is important? Because this part shows us what can we expect, what can we expect about prices. The second part is very important as well. Like in 2024, we had lots of clients who were looking for investment. So they were buying to generate income. And these statistics show you where demand is going. So you can see that which area is growing, which area is falling. So you can see whether you will be able to sell it in the future or rent it in the future. You will see the comparison of demands between the area. So it's very important figures, and they are publicly available. So if we look at the total sales in 2024, actually, we even had a small increase in the number of transactions. Okay, and in the end of the figures, I will share with you what was my prediction for the last in the beginning of the last year and whether it came true or not. So if we look overall, then we can see that overall the figures are very, very healthy. I believe that it's always very interesting to look not only 1 year ago, not only compare 23 and 24, but let's have a look a little bit further before. So I decided to prepare for this webinar the time period from 2021. I didn't take before because 2020 was the COVID year where everything collapsed. It was the year where the program of golden passports had been cancelled. So we had quite unusual demand. Of course, we then had a very unusual demand when the horrible things happened when the war in Ukraine and war in Israel started. Of course, this was unusual drivers of demand, but they are all reflected in the numbers. And the graphs are always easier to digest and understand as well. So we can see that over the last 4 years, almost all the areas of Cyprus experienced growth. Of course, every area has its own peculiarity, but the numbers show everything. So if we look overall, then we can see that from the 2021, especially Larnaca, Limassol, and Paphos, we have big increase in numbers. If we look at the distribution of this demand, then overall, we can see that Limassol is leading. Then we have Nicosia, Paphos, Larnaca, and Famagusta. And for comparison's sake, in the dark blue, you can see the figures of 2024. And in the gray, you can see the figures of 2023. So you can see slight shifts of demand. So we covered with you the general number of sales. Luckily for us, all the contract of sales then distributed by land registry, and we can see domestic buyers, meaning the Cypriots buying property in Cyprus, not buying property, transactions by Cypriot buyers, and we have separate distribution of foreign buyers. Again, very interested. And let's say when you come to us and you say, I want to buy a property for investment, we will be able to advise to you the area or analyze the area based on demand from local, from foreigners. So it is, bear with me, it's very interesting and important. So let's look at domestic numbers. So compared to 2023, we saw increased activity in this segment of the market. We see 10% growth. If we look at the distribution between the areas, then again we can see that when we're talking about local demand, Nicosia and Limassol, they are leading the way. So the majority of local sales, they are happening in these two cities. And again, almost everywhere apart from Famagusta, we can see growth. And Lisa, I will answer this question about Famagusta when we go through all the types. So every year we have increase, and local demand is not connected with the external factors. This is only purchases and transfer of titles made by the Cypriot buyers. If we look at the distribution of sales, then, as I mentioned earlier, Nicosia and Limassol lead the way. Larnaca is becoming more and more popular as well. And we have Paphos and Famagusta a bit lower. Let's look at foreign sales. First, it will be the general trend, and then it will be distributed between European buyers and non-European buyers. When we look at foreign demand, there was a decrease, which was predictable. It was very predictable, because if you look at the demand page that we prepared for when you see the years, you can see that there was a huge increase, 22, 23. And then 24, it came to the normal numbers with the exception of Larnaca. Larnaca has been growing even in 2024. Remember that 2022, 2023, we had a war, the beginning of war in Ukraine. 2023, we have Israel. So all these geopolitical things, especially the war in Ukraine, where thousands of people moved, thousands of businesses relocated to Cyprus. That was a big push. So it was completely expected that the numbers will go slightly down. So again, not a worrying sign at all. This was expected based on the geopolitical reasons. The distribution in general and foreigners, Paphos and Limassol are leading the way, but Larnaca is actually catching up quite a lot. You can see that if Limassol and Paphos dropped few points compared to the last year, Larnaca is growing up. Now, let's go one step deeper. What is happening, where the foreigners are coming. And here we have this separation by land registry, residents of EU and residents of non-EU. So from the EU, there was a little drop, -3%, and the distribution between the cities is like that, okay? Here, in 2022, we have an increase in Paphos in Limassol. This was not only because of war, it was also the nomad program that was opened when lots of people were coming, when it was the taxation. So it was the first big push after COVID. That would influence the EU demand quite a lot, okay? Distribution EU, again, like, you know what is very interesting, like now, because I'm doing these webinars every year and I always look at my previous presentation the year before, and you know the trend, yes, there are changes, but always we have more or less similar picture. So distribution to EU citizens, the most popular area is Paphos. It's traditionally very much in demand by European buyers, Limassol, Larnaca, and then we have Famagusta and Nicosia area. Now let's look at non-EU buyers. Again, we have a slight drop, well, actually -12%. Again, all very, very predictable. But the numbers, you see, still, it's behind every number, there is a story. And I will tell you why Larnaca, why Famagusta. Let's just go step by step. And the distribution to non-EU, we have Paphos, Limassol, Larnaca again. Look how Larnaca is catching up. Famagusta and Nicosia area. On this slide, we summarized the totals. We didn't distribute by area, and we've done the total sales, which is on the right-hand side, and then distribution between overseas and domestic. Again, when you analyze the viability of your investment, who will be buying, while they be buying, who will be renting, what type of client you want, this slide will really help you. And the next slide, you know, before we were only talking about numbers. And these statistics cover all the transactions, meaning that here you have residential properties, you have commercial properties, you have land, you have industrial, everything. Next slide only analyzes residential property. As a company, we have started preparing analytical report every quarter where we analyze only residential properties. And the way we analyze, we don't only go into the numbers, we also go into the values, into the median prices, into the tendencies, and the buckets of how many units, let's say, in Paphos have been sold above 1 million. there is always a delay of information because land registry takes about 1.5 months after the registration to put the data into the system. So only on Monday, we received the fresh data for Q4 of 2024. Now we will prepare it and we will publish. But we extracted the data for that site because, it's very interesting to know the numbers. But in reality, it's all about money. What is the value of the whole market? What is the capacity of the whole market? And this we can count both in number of transactions and also in values. How much money was invested in the market? Again, on this slide, it's only residential real estate because even though we work with commercial and land, but until the end of last year, our biggest priority was still residential. So if we look at that, we can see that even though the numbers are there, the tendency is to buy maybe small units smaller in value. Because if we look in the total capacity, how much money was spent, we can see that there was a slight drop all over Cyprus. In 2023, the whole capacity, the whole volume of residential property sold was just over 4 billion. In 2024, it was under 4 billion. It was 3.8. And again, we can see that all the areas, there was a slight drop in values. Again, this is just facts. These are statistics, and these facts and these numbers show us what is happening. These numbers are showing us behind the scene movement. So, summary. Overall, the market in 2024 was very healthy. We can see that number of transactions are going up compared to the previous years. All the regions are performing very well. There are lots of movement in every region behind these numbers. We can see that domestic market is very active. So we have users of the property. We have potential buyers and sellers. The foreign market, overseas market, again, is performing very well. The slight drop that we experienced in 2024, it was predictable because in 2022 and 2023, we had lots of unexpected, dramatic geopolitical reasons that caused that dramatic changes. But now the market is going to more normal situation. Okay. Now, so we've done with you the numbers, but let's go and see what was before the numbers. Why was this demand so good? And I want to go through some of the things that are fundamental for Cyprus. So, people are buying property for a reason. The main reason why people are buying property, and especially foreigners, while foreigners are buying property in Cyprus region, there are several pillars. There are 4 pillars of demand in Cyprus. The first one, the biggest one, is people are buying for the better quality of life. They want to move. They want to enjoy their life to the fullest. They want to experience the sun. They want to experience sea. They see lots of potential. During this webinar, I'm not going to cover these things. I will cover it during the next one. So the schooling is amazing. The health system is very good. The quality of life, sun, sea, amazing. This is the biggest driver of demand. Also, we remember that Cyprus, lots of people go for taxes and business relocation. We have permanent residency. we have investment. So these four main pillars. We also have additional drivers of demand, which are still, they were present in 2024, and we will analyze with you now whether they are going to be present in 2025. So this is the huge push of Cyprus government for headquartering of businesses and for making Cyprus a very attractive destination for the companies. The second initiative of the government is to make Cyprus as the center of higher education in the Mediterranean, naturalization of highly skilled employees, and general pursuit of healthy living. So these are, in a way, the main pillars, the main drivers of demand. That's why people were coming last year. Let's see if this stays. So let's cover quickly tax advantages. In 2024, we had 0% on passive income for non-domiciled individual, stays in 2025. We had 0% property tax, stays in 2025. We had 0% inheritance tax, stays in 2025. We have 5% pension tax, stays in 2025. We had 12.5% corporate tax. I cannot guarantee that it stays because there have been lots of discussion of changing it. But here on this slide, we don't put the tax for the companies using IT and using intellectual property regime, because for them, the tax is 2.5%, which so far stays. So we can see that this part, that was the reason why people were coming in 2024. And so far, this could be the reason why people choose Cyprus in 2025. We have the pillar of the immigration program, Cyprus Permanent Residency for Non-Europeans. One of the best programs in Europe now, very transparent, very clear, 300,000 plus VAT, and it's still there, but I want to discuss it further because I think that this program could be a very big driver in 2025. Cyprus citizenship for highly skilled employees. Again, it was decided in 2023. In 2024, we felt the impact of that decision, and I believe that it will be even more further down the line. The decision of the government that the highly skilled employees who are in Cyprus with working visa, based on their knowledge of Greek language, can receive their citizenship in 3 or 4 years. Okay. Now let's look a bit about Cyprus performance as a whole. What is happening with the economy? And you know, I'm not an economist, so guys, I will not go very, very deep. If you want to go deeper, I will share with you information and you can look further. I will only cover the things that are easy understandable for everyone. Okay, so let's look at the economic performance. So we have been upgraded to A by Standard & Poor's. Moody's elevated us to A3. And remember, a few years ago, we were in the junk category. So this is a big proof that Cyprus economy is getting better. European Commission projects growth for Cyprus in 2025. Our GDP is really growing. What was very nice to see as well, I didn't put it in presentation, that not only GDP is growing, but the percentage of the expenses of the government is reducing. So the government becoming less expensive, which is always good. Okay, so we are actually quite good for the projected and the real figures of GDP. I'm only covering in this presentation the part of the economy that have impact on real estate. GDP, 100% has impact on anything. Government expenditures, 100% impact on everything. What else? Tourism. How do people find out that Cyprus is so beautiful? In many cases, first they come as visitors, they come as tourists. And Cyprus tourism in 2024 was feeling brilliant. In terms of numbers, the flow increased. The number of tourists reached 4 million, which for small, don't forget that Cyprus is a very small island. So we increased the volume. The next year, 2025, the projections are even better. I only put October. Again, this is the information available on the statistical portal. What I found interesting in this, it's the countries where people are coming. And you know, there is a direct correlation of the tourist arrivals and their further interest in properties, either to rent or to buy or to invest. So I found this fascinating that we can see the correlation from the tourist arrivals and the people interested in moving and living in Cyprus. Again, I find it extremely amazing. Okay. We looked with you that the demand from local buyers was quite strong. And we can, again, we're not going to look at the detailed numbers, but if you study later Cyprus Demographics, you can see that the population increases. And mind you, not all the people with temporary permits, permanent visas, visitors, digital nomads, they are not in that statistics. So the population is increasing. Again, Cyprus has, I remember when I just started working in real estate, and there was a study that showed that Cyprus can sustain population 3 or 4 times than what it is. So this is all, in my opinion, for the better. Okay, so we can see Cyprus Demographics. Remember I was telling about all the people who moved in 22, 23, and then about the initiative of the government to make Cyprus as a headquarters. Also, Cyprus has a big plans to become the Silicon Valley, if I may say, of the European Union, to be the island of research, development, innovation. We have the organization in Cyprus, which is called Tech Island, that unites the companies in the IT sector. And just have a look at this slide, which I also found very interesting. The increase of gross value added by IT sector. And behind these IT sectors are thousands and thousands of people who come to Cyprus. Okay. Construction industry, this is the slide that shows the future supply, because of course, like there is in Cyprus, you need to get planning and building permit to build anything. So this information, in a way, it gives us a glimpse what we can expect from the point of view of supply. And remember, these lines, supply and demand, this is what will tell you what is going to happen with prices. And, you know, I saw this slide and I loved it. Remember, one of the actually 2 big reasons why people are choosing Cyprus is the relocation, pursuit of a better life. And I found recently these statistics, overall life satisfaction index of Europe. It's 2023. And of course, if you believe statistics, because especially when it surveys, it's very subjective, but I just loved it. And I decided to use it here because it shows you overall life satisfaction of Cyprus. And you see okay, it's very small, but this is our Cyprus, which is also small. But the darker the color, the better is the overall satisfaction. So we are, guys, if you're from Cyprus, you're already in the higher satisfaction index. If you're not in Cyprus, then maybe this graph, see the country where you are in now and see what is your color. And maybe if you move to Cyprus, your color will change. Okay? And one more chapter. So this was the general. Now I want to address actually just two big things that happened and that have direct influence on real estate, really direct. And the first one is that VAT changes of 2023 came into effect. I will not, actually, let me quickly say. So in Cyprus, if you're buying new property, then it is subject to VAT. VAT in Cyprus, the standard rate is 19%, but under certain conditions, the VAT, if it's your first property and if you're going to use it for your personal use, then you can claim 14% from the government and you will only pay 5% VAT. In 2023, the rules changed and the point of sort of no return, or the point that you always need to consider, was the date of the submission of application for planning permit. In 2024, it was the first year when we started seeing projects where the planning application was done after October 2023. So already we see the cases where the people, they cannot get 5% VAT because they go with the new rules. Again, guys, I don't want to go into details. Just remember that 2024 and 2025 always ask what VAT is in place. Can I get 5% VAT? So that was the first big thing, because it directly affects the cash flow. It affects how much you are paying for the property. The second thing, actually they're connected, second and third, it's finally we have the promise of speeding up of issuing of building and planning permits. Unfortunately, and especially because of this VAT change, all our municipalities and government authorities that issue planning and building permits, they were overwhelmed with the number of applications. So last year we had, I would say, it's one of the disastrous years when we had lots of projects where we had to wait for the planning permit because it was in line and it was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. We really had cases where we had investors who chose the properties because there was no planning permit. Of course, we would never sign a full sale agreement, so it was reservation agreement, and we had to wait with our investors for months and months and months. Luckily, or let's say luckily and hopefully. So luckily we have the new system in place, the digital platform, where the government put the restrictions of how long they have to issue planning and building permit for. They started with very small projects. Like the first one was the small-scale, low-risk developments up to 2 residential units. Excellent, very fast. From March, they are hoping to add medium-risk developments, which, to be honest, quite a big chunk. These are the small projects with up to 12 residential units or apartments building with a maximum of 20 apartments. And we have a deadline of 80 working days for all the checks and everything. If it goes through, it will help the whole process a lot. I believe that these changes were very significant. And now I will share with you what is my opinion. I don't like the word forecast because in our life, everything changes so fast. So I would say that this is more of an opinion, what will be happening. And the first thing, I believe that there will be increased flow of people moving from UK, Germany, Austria, and maybe other European countries as well, because of tax changes in their specific country, because of life condition in their specific country, and because compared to that situation, Cyprus becomes more interesting. I will just share with you one slide. Last week, we have done a specialized webinar with asset management company, international asset management company that work internationally, and we were covering actually UK and Cyprus. And one of the slides was connected with the changes in the UK that will come into effect after 6th of April, unless they change something. Guys, we are not going to go into details, but just look at the figures. Now, these people are paying 200,000 in taxes. After 6th of April, they would be paying 765,000 in taxes. But if they move to Cyprus, they will still be paying just 200,000. So I'm not going into details on that, but because there are so many negative changes in the country of origin, Cyprus becomes very, very attractive. So I believe that we will see increased flow of interest and relocation. Actually, we already see quite a lot of people coming who started with rentals. And this brings me to my second point. In 2025, I believe that we will see quite a lot of people. Because we deal quite a lot with foreign markets, a lot of my presentation is connected with foreigners as we're an international company. So there are lots of people who moved to Cyprus, 22, 23, 24. In the beginning, they were renting. Now, they decided that, you know what, I like it. I'm staying. Some of the people, non-European, who are working, they now learn Greek. They want to stay here. They want to get citizenship. Their children started going to school. They see that it's all working perfectly. We see lots of European people who came for taxes, and in the beginning, they all were coming, you know what, I will stay just 60 days, which is the minimum. No, actually, I like it. I stay 183 days. You know, actually, I like it even more. It doesn't make sense for me to pay the rent. I'd rather go and buy my property. Most of these people also qualify for local mortgages. So they actually go and get loans in the Cypriot banks. So this is the second point, increased move from rentals to purchase from people who arrived in 2022, 2023. In January, I think it was January, or anyway, doesn't matter when, but there is a big possibility that Cyprus is actually joining Schengen. area. I have always been very, very careful because, you know, I think probably for the last 10 years, we've been hearing Cyprus is joining Schengen, Cyprus is joining Schengen area. But this is the first time that the president of the country mentioned it. So the chances that it happens are rising. If Cyprus indeed joins Schengen, the permanent residence program of Cyprus becomes much more attractive. And because permanent residency program is connected with the real estate, this will influence the market. Of course, here we come to the next thing, because and guys, again, disclaimer, this is my opinion. And actually, let's meet next year, next February or next end of January, and we will discuss with you whether this opinion came true or not. So if Cyprus joins Schengen and the PR program will become even more attractive, I believe that we might have changes to the terms of PR program. To be honest, I hope it will not change, but there is a possibility, if we think with common sense, that there is a possibility that it will change. And that's why, again, just when we received the announcement of potential entry of Cyprus to Schengen, we as a company started receiving more inquiries connected with the PR program, because all non-Europeans, including UK now, they understand that, you know what, that's a good one. Before the change, let's get into it earlier, okay? And there could be potential change of terms of purchase of properties by non-EU citizens. This is very difficult to say in which form it will be. I think that most probably it will be potentially strict adherence to the requirements by the existing regulations. You know, even now in Cyprus, there is a procedure that non-EU citizens need to get the permission of the Council of Ministers to purchase property in Cyprus. But it has always been a formality, and it was only requested at the time when you transfer the title deeds to your name. It was never requested at the point of purchase. Even now, it's not requested at the point of purchase. But because there are these discussions in the parliament about more understanding, it's not even control, it's more understanding of who is behind the purchase, maybe this could come in effect. And also it might mean that there will be sort of more KYC procedures even before the purchase of property. Okay, so this was my take on what to expect in 2025, or what would be the factors that influence the real estate. I just quickly go before the questions. So I invite you to encourage you, if you want to learn a bit more, every quarter we publish our personal, our report, residential market overview. So if you want a digital copy, then I always encourage subscribe on my Instagram, and I will be happy to share. This is our wonderful team. We do have an amazing team of experts, and if you want to learn a little bit more, on top of the presentation, you can see the button, book your free consultation. Our team will be very happy to assist you, and we are always guided by what value will bring to you by bringing expertise, efficiency, and ethics. And we have lots of additional resources which we'll be happy to share. But now let's go to the questions and answers. Okay, so let me go to the questions. I will start from the bottom. Okay, can I get the presentation? Yes, we will be very happy. You will receive the recording of this presentation, and also if you ask specifically, we will be happy to share the presentation as well. Question from Simon: is there capital gains tax payable if you sell a holiday property? Yes, in Cyprus, if you have an capital gains, there is a tax. The current rate is 20% on the gains, but every owner has an amount that will be deducted. So yes, there is a capital gains on profits, and at the moment it's 20%. Question from Niels: any expectation as to the future of corporate income tax? This has been discussed and rediscussed. So I think there could be potentially the changes, but because Cyprus is really following its promise of being a good business destination, I think there might be a change, but I don't think that it will be drastic, but I'm not sure. But it could be. So just have it in mind. Okay. There is a tax, property tax, which is or will be levied for any new property under 5 years or has not been rented for consecutive 2 years. How will this impact the market and the new property prices? George, this is not a new tax. This is what you refer to is VAT. Okay, big topic. So I'll just again tell you the points to remember. In Cyprus, VAT is for new properties only. But in 2022, the VAT authority changed the definition of what is considered a new property. So the property during 5 years after delivery can be considered new and can be subject to the VAT for the new purchaser again, unless it was rented for 2 consecutive years to a non-related party. So again, what do we use as agents when we list the property? We ask first, okay, when was the delivery? And by delivery, we mean connection of electricity of the project. When was the delivery? Okay, it was 6 years ago. Fine, we're safe, it's okay. It was 3 years ago. Then come next question. Was the property rented to a third party? Yes, it was rented. There is no new VAT or new buyer. It was not rented. Let's check more, because if it was not rented, then there is a possibility that the new buyer will be subject to VAT. So again, just points to remember. And guys, that's why I always say, when you intend to invest or to spend so much money, engage professionals, engage professional real estate agents, especially in Cyprus. By law, all the commissions to real estate agents are payable by the sellers. So engage professionals, and then you will know everything. Of course, there are different levels of professional, so use your due diligence and the judgment. Next question. Can you please address the potential impact of Schengen 2025 Parliament discussion on the locals' housing issues? I think I already touched a little bit on that subject. I do believe that there will be some changes. The housing issues, I think I am a big believer in supply and demand. Guys, the rule of the market is so wise. And when we're talking about the housing issues, the issue is that, yes, now Cyprus is changing. And we have some areas with very expensive properties, and we have some areas with very reasonably priced properties. So I think it will be just like the market will dictate where, based on your income, you will be able to buy and rent. With rental, the situation is changing as well. You know, we had huge increase of rents in 2022 when thousands of people came to a very small market. And of course, it was a huge issue when we didn't have any rentals, and they were people with high availability of funds. Now it's changing. There are more properties for rent available. There are less people who are looking for rent. So there will be the correction of the prices. Okay, next question. Was the drop in non-EU due to drop of UK buys? No, I wouldn't say that. Actually, I would say that now this last year, we had more UK buyers than in 2023 and 2022. I would allocate it just to the huge numbers in 2022 and 2023, which couldn't be sustained because people were moving not because they wanted to move, they were forced to move. So that was the reason. With UK, we are like quite good. Very interesting question from Lynn. Why the exception in Larnaca? I believe that here it's the question connected that Larnaca was the only area that was moving in all the areas. Here the explanation is that Larnaca has much more potential to grow because it was sort of quite neglected in inverted commas, meaning that not many people were investing in Larnaca because there were not many new projects, there were not many changes to infrastructure. So the demand was very restricted. But in the last several years, they made huge changes. They moved the petrol tanks. They cleared the huge area near the sea. They made new infrastructure projects. And because the prices were very, very reasonable, so like when you compared where you want to buy, Larnaca was a real winner. And you could see that there was still a very high potential of growth. So that's why when people look for investment with a lower entry level, they all go to Larnaca. Okay, so that was the reason. Okay. Why have sales in the Famagusta area decreased? I think that now it should be the time of Famagusta area because in my opinion, now this area is slightly neglected. Not many new things are happening. It's still mainly a holiday home destination. Like, you know, all the other areas, they really benefited from relocation. But you know, like if you relocate, let's say if you are a family, you need to have schools. If you don't have schools, good level schools, international schools, it's very unlikely that you will choose that area. So I believe that was the reason for Famagusta, but I know that on the municipal level, they're in the process of making more changes. So I do believe that it will change. Okay, could you please comment on the added offer triggered by expiring 5-year holding period for golden passports? I would say that it was a huge difference because again, part of it came to the time when it was 22-23. So the increased demand was sort of, or increased supply was covered by increased demand. So, you know, we expected that the effect would be much more dramatic. Actually, it wasn't that dramatic. So, okay. Let me now go to the new questions. Sorry, guys. Okay. So, Larnaca is a historical and cultural center with art and music scene now. I agree the Famagusta is knack to be rejuvenated by investment in infrastructure, etc. Thank you. Thank you. I also believe so. Okay. Can you give an area where the cheapest property is for sale in the Paphos region? You know, we do not have that clear division, but as a rule that works for everyone, the closer you are to the seafront, the more expensive are the properties. And this is true for every area, not only for Paphos. So if you want to have front line or walking distance to the sea, don't expect the cheapest properties. Okay, they will be more expensive. So the further you move away from the center, the cheaper will be the properties. Okay, is Limassol oversaturated and perhaps Paphos is the future? It's a tricky question, okay? And nothing is oversaturated yet. And Limassol region is big, okay? If we're talking about the specific area, let's say, let's take Yermasoya area. It's not that it's oversaturated, it's almost fully built. And if it's fully built, it means that either they will go higher, they cannot expand further. So people who want to buy there, they will be expected to pay the premium. But we can see in Limassol lots of very interesting projects in less central areas. Let's say above the highway, now you have some fantastic projects. So I would say that it's oversaturated. It all depends your specific requests. You know, that's why, again, I encourage you, book your free consultations with our expert. It's free for you, either online or offline, so we can go through everything. Because let's say Paphos is amazing, and it all depends what is the reason of your purchase. Let's say, George, it's a very good question, and I love these questions. Let's say if you tell me, Anastasia, or I will ask you, Mr. George, what is the reason? Why you're looking to invest? Is it for personal use? Is it for investment? If you say for personal use, then we will start working with you. What is important for you? What is your family? Do you have children? What are your likes and dislikes? How much money you have? Because when we compare Limassol and Paphos, it's not so much a saturation point, it's the point of budget. Paphos is mostly cheaper than Limassol. So it's not as black and white, but I don't think that none of the cities are oversaturated. It's just some areas are more built than others. Okay. Another question from George. From an investment point of view, is it worth investing in buying property to rent out or sell directly? Depends on your appetite. It depends on your investment horizons and depend on why you're doing. If you want to have regular passive income without headache, you invested money and every month you're collecting your income, then it's property to buy. And now you can expect, I would say the average should be 4 to 5% on the long-term rent. Sometimes it can be higher and you have no headache. If you want to be a bit more aggressive and get your money quick, then you need to buy. Be very careful when you're choosing the property and sell directly. And in these cases, you can expect 20, 30, and sometimes higher return. So it all depends. And we can help. Properties with VAT is a very interesting subject. When we can apply for 5% and how it goes if a company is bought by a company for investment. Okay, number one, these VAT incentives is only for physical entities. It's only for people. So if you buy as a company, you cannot apply for reduced VAT. You will need to pay 19% VAT. 5% you can get if it's your personal property. If you are not going to rent it out, so it's for your personal use, and it's the first property that you are using this incentive. Okay. Can you advise whether an investor can claim back VAT if a property is bought under a company and rented? Again, no. So if you, sorry, it's a different one. If a property is bought under company and rented short-term, long-term, of course, yes. Because as a company, you issue invoice with VAT, and the VAT that you receive from the client, then you can claim it back. You can claim back VAT from the government because you have two flows of VAT. So definitely yes. Okay. Can you give insights on the country of origin of non-EU buyers? Where are the most non-EU buyers are from? Okay, so non-EU, we have UK. It's non-EU now. We have ex-Soviet Union, which is Russia, Ukraine. We have Israel. We have Middle East countries. So these would be the most popular non-EU country. Could you please provide more details about your partnership options? We'll be very happy to discuss, but as we work with partners, but I think let's do it with a consultation. Okay. Can you please clarify what is the PR program? Just briefly, because again, I don't want to take lots of your time. PR program is the investment property by the government, immigration program, where when a non-European person invests 300,000 plus VAT into the approved investment groups and residential property is part of it, the investor, his spouse, and his children up to the age of 25 can get permanent residency, which allows them to stay in Cyprus, visit Cyprus as much as they want, and stay in Cyprus as long as they want. Thank you for the bougainvillea. Yes, it was celebration of our 5 years anniversary. Okay, and let me answer just a couple more questions. I think that's it. What if it's the first sale, but there is no VAT? Is it okay for PR? It's not possible. The first sale without VAT is not possible because VAT has been introduced in Cyprus since 2004. So it's not possible that there is a sale from developer without VAT. So I think there could be some confusion there. And for permanent residency, it's a condition that the sale has to be the first sale from developer, so it cannot be resale. Okay. Paphos has the Akamas region, protected beaches, gorgeous, good for hiking, beaches of myths and legends, and rich history restaurants. Larnaca has great restaurants, an art and music scene, history, black volcanic sand. Famagusta is bad for renting out to tourists. That's absolutely right. You know, we had one webinar dedicated to different areas, regions of Cyprus, and this is the beauty of Cyprus. Every region has its attraction. Every region has something amazing. Okay, let me take just 2 more questions. And if there are questions that we haven't answered, then we will answer in our follow-ups. Okay, so what happens to the 5% VAT when you move from one new property to another? Very good question. So the 5% incentive is only given to one property. So if you want to move from one property to another and you didn't live in the property where you claimed 5% 10 years, because this incentive is given for 10 years. So if you are moving to a different property before the expiration of the 10 years, you will need to pay back to the government the proportion of the 14% that it has given you. And then if your new property fulfills the new criteria, remember the change of VAT that I covered, then you can submit application again. Okay. Is there anything stopping or considerations for British citizens thinking to buy a house in Cyprus this year but not intending relocate to Cyprus for at least 3-4 years? No, and actually, I think especially in the UK, especially with your very tricky tax system, when we had a consultation and when we had training with the UK tax advisors, they actually told us that sometimes for the UK, it's the best strategy. Start early. If you want to get the permanent residency, start early. And if you're not going to relocate for at least 3-4 years, during that time, you can use the property, either rent it out and generate income, or choose the property that is under construction. So there are lots of scenarios. So nothing stopping. In fact, I think it's a good strategy. Okay. Okay, the last question about the building permits are issued before 2004. Yes, but it's, how can I put it? If you find the property where the building permit was issued before 2004 and it was not sold for 20 years, I would seriously ask questions why. And I think on that note, I want to say big thank you for being such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful audience, for sending me all these questions. You really made this presentation very easy for me. So thank you very much. I hope that this information was useful. And I also hope that after consideration, if you think that Cyprus is a good option for you, you will come to our beautiful island, and I hope that you will come to visit us, or we will, if you choose to use our services to assist you in this beautiful search for best property option, we will be very, very happy. So thank you very, very much, and have a great evening and great week. Bye.